Number 7. Lawyer gone wrong. On October 14, 2021, a private litigant, Alvaro, 65, shot his nephew, Carlos Ignacio, 27, whom he was also representing in a joint family case. The president of the Supreme Court of Justice of the state, Francisco Gutierrez, assured concerned citizens of Sonora this sort of incident hadn't occurred in the courts of Ciudad Obregón in over 100 years. But the citizens said the event in question could have easily been avoided had the courts installed metal detectors in the entryways. Allegedly, the men involved in the shooting, Alvaro and Ignacio, had gotten into an argument ahead of their hearing in family court. The argument began in the early morning and tensions kept rising until Alvaro took a concealed weapon out and shot his nephew. The shooting occurred at 9 a.m. in the state's judiciary office. After having shot his client and nephew, the private litigant retreated to a nearby chamber and shot himself in the head. Emergency services were called immediately and rushed to the scene. Ignacio died in the courtroom, and Alvaro died a few hours later. The police claim the event resulted after a family legal matter between the two turned sour. Number 6. Judge's threat. Judge John C. Murphy was elected to the Brevard County Court in September 2006 and was re-elected again in 2012. He served until the Supreme Court ordered his removal from the bench in December 2015. The reason? Murphy lost over 20 years worth of legal standing when he threatened to beat a public defender's, quote, ass. On June 2, 2014, Murphy had an altercation with the public defender Andrew Weinstock. The disagreement began after Weinstock refused to waive his client's right to a speedy trial. "What do you want to do?" asked Murphy, to which Weinstock replied, "What do you want to do? I'm not waiving. You want to set it for trial? Set it for trial." Murphy and Weinstock began to argue back and forth. Murphy reportedly told Weinstock that if he had a rock, he would throw it at him, followed by an invitation to, quote, take it outside in the hallways. Sounds like immaturity at its finest. The two men proceeded to go out into the hallways, but video footage of their fight was not recorded. People in the courtroom could hear something going on in the halls. A deputy that worked in the courthouse named Brian Griffin later told interviewers what he saw. Quote, "I stepped back into the hallway and saw the two of them grabbing a hold of each other's suit coat, pushing each other back and forth. I heard Judge Murphy say, 'Do you want to F with me, do you?' And I heard Mr. Weinstock say, 'All right.' I immediately stepped in and separated the two of them as they still had a grasp on each other." End quote. When the fight ended, Murphy returned to the courtroom and continued as if nothing had happened. He was greeted back by applause. One witness at the court testified Weinstock had been, quote, rude during their argument, so it seems like it was a common theme for him. Murphy continued the cases left by Weinstock, who did not return for the remainder of the hearings. In one of them, he took a plea, something considered non-judicial since the man's defender was not present. Murphy took a leave of absence for a month after everything went down and issued a public apology. Quote, "There may not be words strong enough to express the regret I have over my actions on June 2nd, not because of the consequences to me, but because it was wrong and may have tarnished the reputation of the entire judiciary. I love my job and have refocused myself on doing all I can to make myself a better person and a better judge." End quote. John C. Murphy faced misconduct charges put against him in August of 2014. He was temporarily transferred to another court, but was eventually removed from the bar following a hearing by the ethics panel. What do you think about Murphy's situation? Let us know in the comments below, and if you liked the video so far, be sure to subscribe for more cool videos. Now back to the legal action. Number 5. Prominent lawyer. After hearing Claude Tex McIver's 16-minute-long testimony in court, Chief Superior Court Judge Robert McBurney sentenced him to life in prison with a possibility of parole after 30 years. McIver was indicted on charges of killing his wife, Diane. McIver was a prominent lawyer based in Atlanta who retired a few months prior from his job at a labor and employment law firm. His wife was president of U.S. Enterprises, the parent company of Corey Airport Services. The high-powered businesswoman retained her post for the last 43 years. The power couple lived in Atlanta's upscale Buckhead neighborhood. While sentencing McIver for the September 25th shooting, McBurney said, quote, "I'll tell you what's most telling. You had as much time as you wanted to share with me what you thought was important for me to hear and I guess your audience to hear. I didn't ever hear you say you're sorry for what you did. To me, that silence speaks volumes." End quote. McIver stated that the couple were returning with a friend from their ranch in Putnam County, 70 miles or just over 110 kilometers from southeast Atlanta. McIver was in the back seat, his wife was in the front passenger seat, and Patricia Diane Carter, the family friend, was driving. At some point, MacIver grew uneasy with Black Lives Matter protesters that were getting near the vehicle. He feared their car would be a target. This is when MacIver claims he took out a .38 caliber gun to, quote, defend everyone. MacIver didn't shoot at the crowd, and even after they were out of the protest, he didn't put his revolver back inside the holster. Instead, he claimed he dozed off with the gun still in his hand. When the car drove over a speed bump, MacIver unknowingly shot the gun and it hit his wife. Diane died from her injuries later that day. It all sounds too good to be true. MacIver faced felony charges of involuntary manslaughter and released on bond, but was later put in jail for concealing a weapon. The Atlanta retired lawyer was also charged with witness tampering after he told Carter and her husband to lie for him on the stand while under oath. For the murder of his wife Diane, Claude Tex MacIver was sentenced to life in prison. Number 4, disbarred attorney arrested. In February 2019, police responded to an emergency call saying that a woman was dead. The victim, Shirley Merritt, was the mother of disbarred attorney Richard Merritt. She was found dead after getting stabbed in her own home. The prime suspect was her son, who had coincidentally removed his ankle monitor the day before and was living with Shirley until his next court date. But at this point, he was considered missing. Right after he fled, he was seen on a surveillance video from a gas station, this according to the U.S. Marshals. And since he took off so quickly, he immediately became the prime murder suspect. In February 2017, a court found Merritt guilty of theft and elder abuse after he admitted to settling civil lawsuits without informing any of his clients. Merritt stole $75,000 from one client, which he then used to buy a Porsche and take a vacation. A court ordered him to serve 15 years in prison, 15 on probation, and pay back $454,000 in restitution. A day before he was supposed to turn himself in, Merritt removed his ankle bracelet, allegedly killed his mother, and fled. Merritt was then apprehended while leaving a thrift store in Tennessee. The disbarred attorney changed his appearance by growing out his hair, which didn't do much considering he still got caught. Number 3, plethora of crimes. Francine Blair Bogomil, a lawyer based in Florida, has been charged with a bunch of crimes for threatening her ex-husband. She's been charged with 1 count of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, 1 count of assault on a law enforcement officer, 1 count of domestic violence battery, 2 counts of violating domestic violence restraining order, and 2 counts of criminal mischief. So, she isn't exactly Miss Goody Two-Shoes. On April 30th, 2020, Bogomil left her 2 kids, aged 5 and 11, at her house at about 3 a.m. and drove to her ex-husband's home. She rammed the car into her ex's garage door and pushed the door enough to leave a huge dent. When the ex-husband arrived, he witnessed the woman smashing objects into his current girlfriend's BMW. It must have been quite the dramatic scene. Bogomil was apparently hysterical. She was breaking things, yelling curses, and threatened to kill her ex-husband's new girlfriend. Her ex immediately called the authorities and tried to separate his girlfriend and former wife. He also reportedly slapped Bogomil once after she hit him twice. When a sheriff arrived to calm her down, she threatened him too and spat on him. Bogomil was taken into custody where she posted bond and was released on the condition she would not contact her ex-husband or his now girlfriend. But it wouldn't be that interesting if she listened, now would it? The Florida attorney refused to abide by the rules of the restraining order and texted both parties. Bogomil said, quote, "And each and every day as my heart bleeds without my kids, your life will become uglier and uglier because this is your choice. You want war? You've got war. I chose peace. You didn't oblige. One said, you can blame yourself because I'm just getting started with the ways I can ruin you. I will F up your world unless you surrender. I'm not backing down this time. Shit's about to get ugly." This message in and of itself is pretty convincing evidence against her, but we'll see what the jury has to say. Number 2, Colonel Sanders' Courtroom Brawl. Harlan David Sanders, also known as beloved icon Colonel Sanders, founded one of the most iconic and popular restaurant chains, Kentucky Fried Chicken, or KFC. In 1930, the struggling Sanders finally found a way to make ends meet, a little more so than he first anticipated, after he opened up the world's most popular fast food chain with those iconic 11 herbs and spices. But before he became as notable as he is today, Sanders was having a difficult time keeping a job. One of the many reasons was his violent temper and tendency to get into brawls with any and everyone, it seemed. There are several verified incidents of Colonel Sanders losing his temper, a shootout, a screaming match, and a courtroom brawl with a client. From 1906 to 1930, Sanders tried his luck with various odd jobs. Alongside his work as a fireman, laborer, and a ferryman, Sanders had also been learning how to practice law. He was eventually able to practice as a lawyer in Little Rock, Arkansas. For a while, Sanders seemed to have a well-paying and sustainable job. He was able to pay off several debts and afforded to have his family move with him to Little Rock. Unfortunately, Sanders' career as a lawyer ended abruptly in the 1910s when he got into a brawl with a client of his. Sanders claimed that the client initiated the fight and he felt it was, quote, necessary for him to stand his ground and defend himself. The bar in Arkansas didn't agree, and so they disbarred Sanders a little while afterwards. This period represented a real low point for Sanders, but soon things would get much better, all with the help of Little Chicken. Number 1. Suspended. In December 2021, R.D. Sanantha Krishan, an advocate of the Madras High Court in India, was suspended after being found in a, quote, sexually intimate position with a client after a virtual hearing earlier that day. Krishnan claimed he did not know his webcam was accidentally left on following the hearing. The video of the incident showed Krishan, who was seated, kissing and fondling his client, who stood right next to him. The Tamil Nadu Bar Council has suspended Krishnan, now preventing him from practicing law in India. This ban will stand until the conclusion of all disciplinary proceedings against him in relation to his alleged misconduct, according to the Bar Council of Tamil Nadu and Puducherry. The court released a statement that they, quote, cannot afford to be a mute spectator and turn a Nelson's eye when such a brazen vulgarity is publicly displayed amidst court proceedings, end quote. While we understand how uncomfortable of a situation this must have been, Krishnan didn't know the camera was on, so hopefully his punishment lightens up soon. Thanks for watching. Can you think of any other lawyers that belong in a video like this? Let us know in the comments below and don't forget to subscribe. See you next time on the Bad Badger.